On the 13th of December 2022, the White House hosted 49 leaders from African countries, trying to convince them that Africa remains a real priority for America. Now, frankly, it was always going to be a hard sell, since many Africans feel that America have treated them with a lot of disdain, disregard, and in some cases, neglect. In fact, many argue that America treats Africa more as a liability as opposed to an asset, more like Harry Maguire as opposed to Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, in all of this, Africa remains strategically the place for much of the critical minerals that America desperately needs to maintain its leading position in defense and tech and IT and energy transition. So critical minerals like lithium and cobalt and platinum that America desperately needs for its energy transition, much of those are found in Africa. And technically, that should make Africa not just a strategic partner, but a really important ally. But a series of strategic blunders by past US administrations deprioritized Africa. And in doing so, they opened the door massively for China and Russia to come in. And in so doing, Russia zoomed to the top as Africa's number one weapons dealer, accounting for approximately 49% of all military equipment sales and imports into Africa, including battle tankers and warships and fighter aircrafts and combat helicopters and a variety of other stuff. And China became Africa's number one trading partner, accounting for approximately $261 billion of trade in the year 2021 alone. Now, to put that into context, that's 5 times the trade volume with the US at $64 billion. The key question on the lips of everyone today is, will this new charm offensive by the Biden administration be enough to turn Africa away from the engagement with China and Russia? To answer that question, stay with me and we can explore together. Africa is home to the world's youngest and fastest growing population. About 60% of Africa's population is under 25 years of age, and that young population is set to grow to 80% by the year 2050. This means 2 things. One, that much of the labor force of the future will be African, but also that Africa would become the business destination of choice of the future because of the mass market this would create. Additionally, the continent is home to 40% of the world's gold, 90% of the world's chromium and platinum, the largest cobalt reserves, the largest uranium reserves. All of those are found in Africa. In fact, you can argue that 30% of the critical minerals that the world needs today are all found in Africa. Now, this strategic advantage was long recognized by the US, by China, and by Russia. But by a mile, the Chinese understood this far more, and they started perfecting the strategy of partnering with key African countries, of working side by side with them. And in doing so, they rolled out their Belt and Road Initiative all across Africa. Now, for context, the Belt and Road Initiative seeks to connect Africa with Asia and Europe via land and marine networks to boost regional integration, increase trade, and to stimulate economic activity. Now, as of August 2022, 52 out of 54 African countries had ratified and signed up for the Belt and Road Initiative. That's 96% of all African countries. And that meant that the Chinese have been opened up into Africa to key areas of investments like major infrastructure, transportation, power, rail, expressways, seaports, hydropower, power plants, water, infrastructure, sanitation. Much of those have been opened up to the Chinese. In fact, a few key examples. 1, building the first inter-country rail link between Ethiopia and Djibouti. So this running from Addis Ababa to Djibouti. Also in the same breath, building a water supply line that sends clean drinking water via the Ethiopia-Djibouti pipeline project. Again, building a high-speed rail network that links the coastal town of Mombasa to the capital of Nairobi, cutting the journey time from 12 hours to 4.5 hours. That's a $3.2 billion project. Again, building the Abuja-Kaduna rail line project in Nigeria, which is part of the broader Lagos, so from the south all the way to north, Lagos to Kano rail line project. building, again, the Entebbe-Kampala Expressway in Uganda, and also hydro dam projects in Karuma in Isamba, and several other projects, including the African Union building $200 million African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, building as a gift for the Zimbabwean government a $200 million six-story building parliamentary project for the Zimbabwean parliament. So all of these are key examples of where China is deeply in bed with Africa. And in doing so, they send over 10,000 Chinese core businesses that are operating across the board in Africa. Over 1 million Chinese people or people of Chinese origin live in Africa to try to make all of this happen. Deep relationships being formed. So the key question goes back, can the Biden administration turn the heads of Africa away from the East, from Russia and China, back to US? Our analysis at the African Energy Council proves that this will be highly, highly unlikely. The reason for that is there have been deep relationships, deep investments that have been made, which would mean that the US would have to engage Africa on a completely different level. You would have to be pair to pair, not the type of engagement that has been in the last couple of years, where it was that of a superpower with a developing partner. You'd have to be an equal partnership for this to happen.